Welcome back to my channel. It's Joseph Reacts here, and in today's video, I am joined with a very special guest, one of my best friends, Phil. We are going to be reacting to The Most Beautiful Life Goes On, a story of BTS. I will be introducing Phil to BTS. This is his very first time being introduced to them, or learning about them. So I am super excited to get into this video and introduce him to BTS.
Hello.
How do you feel?
I feel good.
He feels good?
I'm excited.
He's excited. Perfect. So, without further ado, let's get right into this video.
Today, everyone knows the name of BTS. They've been invited onto late-night talk shows, they've shattered records, they've sold out stadiums, They've made it onto the big screen. These days, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who didn't know who these guys were,
an advocate.
or at least haven't heard one of their songs. And if they don't, either they've been living under a rock, or they're 100 years old. The success of BTS boys is
oh my god, he's like...
it wasn't always
I mean,
Let
I've heard
it
of
be
BTS,
known.
It all started
but,
with
yeah.
one man.
So that's the owner.
YG. YG
Yes.
wanted to make himself a rap group. In the late 90s, he experimented with this idea.
Oh
with
my
different
god.
trainees, eventually choosing 7
Wait,
members.
that's
and while
him?
3 of them eventually left, the remaining 4, Teddy, Danny, Jinhwan, and Baekhyun, debuted in 1998.
Wait,
as
that
One
looks so
Time.
different
Their
than what I've
first album,
seen
titled
recently.
One for Your
Those are
Mind,
different
was one of the
guys.
year's best-selling
Oh, okay,
albums and
gotcha.
won several awards, including the Global Disc
So this
and
is not the
SBS Music
same-
Awards. For
Yeah,
Best New
he
Artist
tried to
and
make a
MTV's
group and it
Award for
failed.
Best
So
Hip
then
Hop
he
Artist.
started to make
The group
BTS
enjoyed
afterwards.
moderate success and released 4 more albums before going on indefinite
That's what
hiatus
he's saying
in 2006 due to their mandatory military service. The year was 2010,
Yes, so in
and the
Korea,
5-year-old company, Big Hit Entertainment,
you're required
had
to
previously
serve in the
signed 2
military
artists,
at a
8
certain
and
age,
2 a.m.
which
They had
is
their share
really
of successes,
unfortunate.
but they were very
Oh,
traditional
kind of like in
K-pop.
Israel.
Big
I've
Hit
heard.
wanted a fresh new sound, and
Most people
upon
are
listening to One
required
Time,
to
CEO
Yeah.
Hitman Bang
Yeah, you have
Si-hyuk
no
had decided
choice.
that that was the sound that he was looking for. And on top of that, the youth needed someone to relate to, and more importantly, look up to. He had decided he would create a hip-hop group.
Okay, that's the same guy.
Yes, that's the same guy. The guy who created BTS.
At 15 years old, Kim Namjoon auditioned for a certain Big Deal Records, which he completely botched, forgetting the lyrics to the song he was performing. Afterwards, fellow rapper Sleepy recommended that he try auditioning at another label, Big Hit, and even put in a good word for him to one of the producers there. At age 16, Kim auditioned in front of Bang Si-hyuk himself, and instantly impressed him. He was offered a deal with Big Hit on the spot, which Kim accepted and became a trainee, officially choosing a name for himself, Rap Monster, destined to become the leader of the newly created group.
He's the leader. His name is Rap
Now that a
Monster.
fearless leader was
That's Rap
chosen,
Monster.
they needed more members.
Okay.
And this is Suga.
Min Young-gi was a 17-year-old
Min Young-gi,
living
but
in
he's known
Daegu,
as
an
Suga.
avid basketball player and rapper. He had been interested in music, especially rap, from a very early
So
age.
this
and
is
despite
the
his
second
parents'
member.
disapproval, started
Okay.
performing as a rapper while still in high school. He quickly gained attention as a rapper
And
and,
he said
producer in
17,
the underground
right?
hip-hop scene.
Okay.
One day he saw a flyer for a rap competition called Hit It and decided to participate. And although he only placed second, the company hosting the competition, you guessed it, Big Hit, decided to sign him on as a producer. Hitman Bang spoke with him afterwards, convincing him to join a newly created hip-hop group. He told him to just focus on rapping and assured him that he wouldn't need to dance. He was lying. And just like that, the new group had a second member, known as Suga, a combination of the first 2 syllables of shooting guard, his favorite position in basketball. But they wouldn't stop there. Rappers were nice, but Big Hit actually needed a dancer. Jung Ho-seok always loved dancing. He was in the
J-Hope.
starting lineup of the dance crew Neuron in his hometown, Gwangju. He was good at it too, winning several local championships and even winning a championship at the national
third
level
member.
in 2008. When he
So you
decided
have
to audition for
RM, you
JYP
have Suga,
Entertainment,
and now you have
though, after
J-Hope.
a few rounds of
J-Hope,
auditions,
okay.
he was cut. Fortunately, he didn't
See,
give up
it's
and went
really
to a
easy
for
smaller
me
and
to
smaller,
follow.
lesser-known
J-Hope.
company, Big Hit Entertainment.
I'll
His
try to
dance
keep
skills
that in
and strong
mind.
understanding of rhythm made him an instant favorite, and he was signed on as J-Hope.
Honestly, he's really
Not only
good.
that, but they
Yeah,
saw
his
the potential
dancing's
in him
great.
to become a
Kinda
rapper, which
jealous,
at this point he
not
had
gonna
little
lie.
experience with. However, J-Hope quickly felt that he wasn't a good fit and decided to leave Big Hit until
What?
RM convinced both J-Hope and Big Hit that the
He
group
didn't
wouldn't be
leave,
complete without
but he
him.
thought about it. Yeah.
He was
Okay,
right.
I get okay.
But he never left.
He wasn't confident.
Yeah, right,
Okay, I
right.
understand that. I can relate to that.
올해 또 우리 멤버 보고 멤버 보고 왔어 진짜. 근데 나는 진짜 네가 그 기억.
With the addition of J-Hope, the rap line was complete. Now they needed some
So only
singers.
3?
Now, just like how
No.
RM, an amazing
We're
rapper
not
with a
done.
ton of
There's
experience, was
7.
chosen as the first official member of the rap
okay,
line,
wow.
it would only make
Yeah.
sense that a legendary singer and dancer would be the perfect first member of the vocal line. Right?
Because they have 3 rappers. Jin! Me and
But Kim
him
So
share
Kim
the same
didn't have any
birthday.
sort of experience like that.
We're
Believe it or
both
not,
born
one
on
day
December
when he was
4th.
walking on the
Okay,
streets of his
is that your
hometown,
favorite,
Anyang, he
or
was approached
just...
by a
I
representative
think he
of
might be
SM
my
Entertainment
favorite.
who offered
Just
to work
because
for
we
the
have the
company.
same
In
birthday. It's
typical
like,
Jin
okay,
fashion,
cool.
he never
We're
followed up with him because he
Sagittariuses.
I mean,
was
honestly, I
scammed.
wonder if I have
Apparently,
the
Jin was a
same
very
birthday
good-looking
as
guy
someone.
because years
I don't
later,
think there's
this
any-
time
I
as a
don't
college
know.
student in Seoul, he
Is
was
there a
once again
cancer?
approached on
Let's
the
find
street.
out.
I
This
don't- I
time
don't
by an
know.
executive at Big Hit Entertainment.
But I love Jin.
I respect that, though.
I love it.
Didn't say
Like, we
he
have
didn't
the
care. He
same
was in school to become an
birthday.
actor,
Like,
and he decided to audition
Oh,
to become
like
an
to
actor.
the exact
Big
date?
Hit, however, had different plans for him and convinced him to become a
Nice.
vocalist for their new group. To do so, he literally learned to dance and sing starting from zero, but thankfully, not without help from other vocalists.
yeah, he wants to be an actor.
Really interesting to find out they... Okay, I'm just gonna
Jung
keep
Jungkook
watching.
initially
this
had
is
dreams of
Jungkook.
becoming a badminton player when he was young, but
He's
after
the lead
seeing G-Dragon
vocalist.
perform Heartbreaker on television, it influenced him to want to become a singer instead. Because of this, at only age 14, he decided to audition for the South Korean talent show, Superstar K. He didn't pass auditions, but this was just enough to catch the eye of not one company, not 2 companies, but 7 different companies. This included JYP, FNC, Woollim, Starship Entertainment, TS, Cube, and of course, Big Hit Entertainment. So why did Jungkook, given the choice of all these bigger companies, decide to go with the relatively smaller company, Big Hit? The answer was simple. Because he thought, and I quote, RM was cool, so I wanted to sign with them. That brings the number of members to 5.
I feel like
The
I've
next
heard
member of
his
BTS
name more
was
than
just
others.
as surprised to find Big Hit
Is
as
that-
Big Hit was to
Really?
find him.
That's
And it
okay. You
almost
can say
didn't
that.
happen.
That's okay. He's the main vocalist, so like for you to hear his name possibly more than others.
Kim Taeyong
makes
was
sense.
always
Okay.
passionate about music, and it was always his dream to pursue it as a career.
I love
However,
Kim
it was
Taeyong
hard,
too.
as
I
his
love
family was poor,
Jungkook too.
his
I love
parents being
all of
humble
them,
farmers.
but
His father told him that if he was passionate about music, he should learn an instrument, and he did, spending 3 years practicing with the saxophone.
Right.
One day, one of his friends decided to
Dang, that's
audition
a
for
really
Big Hit
good
Entertainment when they were holding
instrument.
auditions in his hometown of Daegu.
Beautiful.
Taeyong, being a good friend, came with him to keep him company. But when one of the team members in charge of the audition saw Taeyong, he encouraged him to audition as well. With nothing to lose, he did. That day, he was the only one in Daegu to move on to the next round of auditions, and eventually became a trainee for Big Hit Entertainment. They decided to keep him as a surprise member and didn't want to reveal him as one of the members until his debut. In the same vein, Big Hit had him choose something mysterious for his stage name. He decided to go with V for victory. Here seems like a nice round number to stop,
He
right?
had to go with
6
5V?
members for a new hip-hop group.
he went
3
with
rappers
V.
and 3
Yeah, his name is
vocalists.
V.
It seems
Okay.
like a complete group, but still there was something missing. Someone was missing. Someone that could take this already great group of artists and push it even further to achieve perfection. A powerhouse. Someone so naturally talented that they could stand out in a room
Who
full
is
of
it,
already
though?
talented artists. This project that Big Hit had embarked upon needed a capstone.
Everyone's about to be tripped out. Jimin.
Park Jimin was a naturally talented dancer. When he was in middle school, he attended a dance
You have
academy
no
and
idea.
continued to pursue
I
dance
don't,
at Busan High
honestly.
School of Arts, where he studied contemporary dance and was the top student
Kinda
in the whole
jealous.
modern dance department. Impressed
He's
by his raw talent,
actually
a teacher
really
encouraged him
amazing.
to audition for Big
No, I
Hit
see
Entertainment, who were holding auditions in Busan. He was only 16 when he passed the audition and moved to Seoul to become a trainee. He was the final member of the group, and he also had the shortest training period. What's
Wow,
interesting to
nice.
note is that the group feels very much ragtag because in a sense, with the exception of Jimin, it was. RM and J-Hope only auditioned for Big Hit because they didn't pass their auditions with the first company they chose. And despite their amazing talent, Suga and Jungkook didn't win the competitions they were in, but they signed on to Big Hit after the fact because of their high quality performances. V never even planned on auditioning and just decided to do it on a whim. And they literally just found Jin on the streets. But perhaps it was
Wow,
fate,
okay.
because this was the group that they chose. And just like that, in 2012, the newly created 방탄소년단, the Bulletproof Boy Scouts, or simply
Yeah,
BTS,
2012.
was 7.
And I'm only recently finding out about this.
Exactly. Exactly.
They had the group, but they still needed the music. In early 2013, they set out to create some social media presence for themselves before officially debuting, posting song covers on both SoundCloud and YouTube, which you can still go watch today. In May, Big Hit launched a countdown clock on their website in preparation for BTS's debut album, complete with a trailer and a ton of promotional material, including photos for the first time of all the members in the official lineup.
Ooh, yes, V. That was a lot of V.
Finally, the big day came. June 12th, 2013.
Too
BTS
cool for
held a press conference at a
school!
debut showcase where they
If you
performed their
guys
two
want to see
singles,
my
No
album
More Dream
reaction, it's on
and We Are Bulletproof
Patreon.
Part 2.
Ooh.
The same day, the Too Cool for School album, as well as the music video for No More Dream, were
Yep.
released.
All of my Patreon, you guys. I'm just
The
so
very next day, BTS performed the song again on their official debut stage on Mnet's M Countdown. This was the world's
fact that
first
they
taste of
mostly
BTS.
speak
Commercially, the album
Korean
didn't do extraordinarily well. The lead single, No
makes
More
it
Dream,
very
peaked at
interesting that people
124
are
in
so
Korea, and the album sold
interested in
only
their
24,000
band.
copies
It's
during its
really-
first year. Bulletproof
Yeah.
Part 2 didn't even chart. The first year wasn't all that
Exactly.
great for BTS, but
Like,
despite
you don't have
everything,
to
people
really
saw
hear
them.
what they're or understand what they're saying to
their talent
People saw
speaks
the sparkle in
beyond.
their eyes and their
Exactly,
limitless
yeah.
potential.
That's really,
And
that's
they were
really
hot, of
interesting.
course. On July 9th, ARMY was established as BTS's official fandom. They made their comeback only 2 months later in September when they released their single No, along with their EP, part 2 of what would be their school trilogy, Oh, Are You Late 2. In the music video for the single, they made a commentary on the harsh Korean education system, along with their previous themes of hopes and dreams. No
I
peaked
watched
at 92 in Korea, but also quickly fell off the charts. The album debuted at number 4 on the Gaon
Okay.
Weekly chart, and was the 55th best-selling album in South Korea that year. This was enough to secure them the coveted New Artist of the Year award at the Melon Music Awards, the Golden Disc Awards, and the Seoul Music Awards. Part 3 of the School Trilogy was released in February of 2014, the EP School Love Affair. This time, the lead single was Boy in Love. And the other single being Just One Day. The album, as well as both
That's my
singles,
song! That's my
What's the title?
song!
What's the
chart,
title?
as well as making its first
I
international
forget.
appearance
Just One
at
Day.
number 3 on the
Okay.
Billboard World Albums chart. The album also marked their first distinctive change in theme, focusing more on school life and young love, as evidenced by the
Yo,
Boy in
that's
Love
my
music
song.
video. They also
I
held their
that's
first
my
fan meeting
I
with a
listen to
crowd
that
of
song every
3,000
day. I swear to God.
BTS
I
was
swear.
doing well.
Yeah.
That is,
You know, you've heard it like 4
I've heard
times
it,
today.
absolutely.
unfortunately, a dark chapter in the lives of BTS and ARMY. That's right, American Hustle Life. I'm
my
joking,
God.
of course, but American Hustle Life was a reality show put together by Mnet that brought BTS to Los Angeles, where they had the unique opportunity to learn the true ways of hip-hop from the masters. And
I just
it was
started
a
this on
pretty
my
darn
Patreon.
cringy opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless. Whatever you do, just don't watch the Warren G version of Boy in Love. You've been warned. However, cringe and all, the trip proved fruitful for BTS, making connections, performing their first US concert for free in front of 200 fans, as well as their first appearance at KCON. The next month, in August, BTS released their first full-length studio album, Dark and Wild. The album featured
Really?
2 singles,
Okay.
Danger
Oh, I already watched this video too. Up on my
and War
Patreon.
Hormone.
And this one, I watched this on my Patreon too.
The album featured a marked shift in sound with a touch of R&B and electronica. It was met with moderate success. It peaked at number 2 in Korea, selling over 200,000 albums.
It's
In
crazy
October and
how-
again in May of the following
how
year,
perfect
BTS went
they
on their
look.
first and second
Right?
concert tours, known as the Red Bullet Tour, where they visited 13 different countries, including Japan, the Philippines, Australia, the US, Mexico, and many others. They also came out with their first Japanese album in December, Wake Up, featuring many Japanese versions of their songs, as well as original tracks Wake Up and The Stars,
The fact that they can
followed
sing
by a
in
Japan
different
tour and a
languages
solo
is
concert
kinda
in
cool.
Korea.
Yes, they can sing in many. They're just really talented.
Although Dark and Wild got decent attention, they needed something
Dark
different.
and
They needed
Wild,
something
okay.
that would shake things up. They got to work. April 29, 2015 was their comeback. When this album was produced, each member had a hand in writing
Yes.
songs for the album. They again changed their sound
Oh,
from
okay.
aggressive hip hop to
Interesting.
youthful,
So each
colorful
member
styles.
had a
and not only
chance
their
to
sound, but their
write their
image
own
as
song.
well. This
Yes,
can be
and
evidenced by
now
their
each
newest
member
EP,
currently
Most
to this
Beautiful
day
Woman in
has
Life. And
their
just by
own
looking at the album
individual
cover, they
art,
ditched the dark
music,
colors
and
the
everything.
bulletproof vessel
That
that
is
had become
very,
so
very
synonymous
cool.
with BTS,
I like
and
that.
replaced it with a simple white and pink background overlaid with the title. And then they dropped the single that would change everything. I Need You.
you.
It was sentimental, it was hopeful,
Okay.
it was new. Just by looking at the music video, we can see that BTS has also ditched their punk bad boy image and replaced it with a more real, vulnerable, down-to-earth, and youthful feel. This proved to be the change that BTS
okay.
needed for mainstream success. Billboard called it one of the greatest K-pop songs of the decade. It charted at number 5 in Korea, and even led them to their first music show win on SBS MTV's The Show. And that wasn't all, they released their second single, Dope, on June 24th, which started off with a poignant line from RM.
어서 와.
I love Dope.
방탄은 처음이지?
Welcome.
This is
Is
dope.
this your first time with BTS? And you know what?
Welcome.
For a lot of people,
It was.
it
This
was.
is honestly
In a way,
my first
their first studio album
real
and tour
first
can be
time
seen as
with
their
them,
stepping
yeah.
stone between old school BTS and new school. In
Right.
November,
Okay.
they came back with their follow-up EP, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 2, the second EP in what would be dubbed the Youth Trilogy, which featured the
Okay.
single Run. The album focused even more on the frivolity, friendship, and carefree attitude that comes with enjoying one's youth. But just like in I Need You, contrasted that with suffering, depression, loneliness, society, and the stark and sometimes dark reality of life. Compare this with the far cry of the No More Dreams music video. It felt real. It was darker, grittier, more humble, more meaningful, and most importantly, RM lost his mohawk. Run also connected
Thank
narratively
God.
with their previous
No
single,
offense.
I Need You, and another video
I
released in
mean,
September.
they're
titled
like,
On Stage
if it
Don't,
didn't,
Prologue,
if
but
it didn't work,
established
it
the Mohawk
didn't
needs
work.
to
known
go
as the
jam.
BTS universe,
We all
or
know
the
it.
BU, which would eventually combine music videos, short films, books, short stories, webtoons, and even a mobile game to create a cohesive story.
Oh, wow.
And I won't go down this rabbit hole
Oh,
because there is a
yeah.
lot to digest, but it's definitely something to look into
Okay,
if you're a
I
hardcore army.
definitely
The same
missed out
month,
on
they
the
kicked off their
BTS hype.
third tour, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life on-stage tour, where they performed
Right,
songs from
'cause
their
there's
two
so
recent
many
EPs, Part 1
things to,
and Part
like,
2. And
unpack.
Part 2 was a hit, their biggest so far. It topped the weekly Gaon album and Billboard World Albums charts. And
What?
on Billboard, it stayed
The Most
there
Beautiful
for
Moment.
multiple weeks, the first K-pop act to do so. It also appeared on the Billboard 200 albums chart. Not world albums, which is reserved for foreign non-English songs, but simply the top 200 albums, peaking at
Period.
171. Which is kind of amazing considering that this was back in 2015. They also received Best World Performer at the 17th Mnet Asian Music Awards. This brings us to Part 3 of the Youth Trilogy, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Young Forever, released on May 2nd, 2016, which featured probably my favorite BTS album cover. Young Forever was actually a compilation album of parts 1 and 2, so it was mostly the same songs, but it was notable that it had some new singles, Epilogue, Young Forever, Fire, and Save Me. The latter two performed exceptionally well, with both songs topping the Billboard World Digital Songs chart. This was also the second BTS
Wow.
album to chart on the Billboard 200 at 107, and it topped both the Gaon weekly and monthly chart, which earned BTS their first Daesang.
방탄소년단 축하드립니다.
Album of the Year at the 8th Melon Music Awards. They went
I
on to
can
do
tell.
the second half of their tour, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life on Stage Epilogue, selling out many of their concerts and even selling out KCON in the US where they headlined the event. In September, they dropped their second Japanese album, Youth, featuring Japanese versions of tracks from their previous 3 EPs,
I watched this on my
which went
Patreon.
gold and peaked at number 1 on Japanese charts.
We love this.
And only a month later, in October of 2016, it happened. BTS dropped their second studio album,
So is that
Wings.
common?
It
Do
sold
they do a
over
lot of
500,000 copies in its
sorry.
first week.
Japan.
In comparison,
Japanese
The Most
covers?
Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 1,
You could say
released
J-
just the previous
JP.
year, which
JP.
topped the Gaon chart,
Yes,
sold
they do
about
a lot of
500,000
JP.
in
Yeah.
its entire
Okay.
lifetime.
That's cool.
Wings was big, but the true showstopper was its lead single, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which got them their first all-kill, topping 8 music charts in South Korea. Its music video gained 6 million views in the first 24 hours, which broke the YouTube record for the highest number of views of a K-pop group music video within 24 hours. The album hit
Wow,
number
okay.
26 on the Billboard 200, the highest ever charting K-pop album on Billboard. They ended up selling 1.5 million copies in South Korea in 2016 alone, and it netted them the Artist of the Year award at the Mnet Asian Music Awards that same year, the first non-Big 3 artist ever to receive that award.
수상자는 방탄소년단.
BTS.
Yo, this is gonna cry. I'm so proud of them. They've come
After
such a
Blood,
long
Sweat, and
way.
Tears, they were on a roll. BTS was unstoppable.
I mean,
In
honestly, I don't
February
know
of
that much
2017, they
about
released
them,
the
but
instant
just
hit
based off the
Spring Day,
video,
which, quoting a
yeah,
Korean reviewer,
their journey is very
embodies
inspiring.
nostalgia and sorrow and
Like, they
opened a chapter
literally
in
started
BTS's
from, like,
aesthetics and lyricism
the
that
bottom.
attracted fans
For real.
across
And they
generational boundaries.
have been
Which, by the way,
working
is still
to
on
get to
Korean
where they
charts
are
after
currently
nearly
right
4
now,
years,
which
and
is
the same day I'm
the
writing this,
biggest
it ranked
fucking
number 53 on
group.
Okay,
Melon.
but
It won Song
Dynamite,
of the Year at the 9th Melon
that's the
Music
first
Awards.
song I've
After
ever
the
heard of
release of
them,
Spring
and
Day,
that was
they went
at
on
the
yet
top, I
another
think.
tour, the
Not
2017
right
BTS
now.
Live Trilogy,
Not right
Episode
now, but
3,
it
The
just
Wings
showed
Tour.
Dynamite.
The tickets sold out within minutes, including in the United States, the first K-pop artist to do so, and went on to win Best Social Artist at the Billboard Music Awards. The first for a Korean artist, but they would go on to win this award 4 years in a row. The next year was a period of
Okay.
massive growth for both the group's popularity as well as their style. They released the Love Yourself series, starting with Love Yourself Her in September of 2017, Love Yourself Tear in May of 2018, and Love Yourself Answer in August of 2018. 3 albums that gave us some of the most classic BTS songs that we know and love today, such as Mic Drop, Fake Love, Euphoria, Idol,
Yes, Nicki's on this
and of
song.
course, all 3 albums were commercial successes, Her being their first album to top 2 million album sales. But Tear and Answer also did equally well. These 3 albums, as well as their Japanese album, Face Yourself, proved that they weren't done yet, not even close. During this time, they shattered countless records. Their singles went platinum, they topped charts, they won awards. And not only did they break YouTube records, but they broke records that they themselves set again and again and again. This is the period where BTS really started enjoying global recognition, working with huge Western artists such as Nicki Minaj, Designer, and Steve Aoki.
Yes!
First time having international features
Let's
on
go,
the
Korea.
was definitely the biggest. And even though they were already, without a doubt, the biggest act to ever come out of South Korea, they had their eyes set
Let's go,
even
Korea.
higher. They went on
We're
tour
gonna
once
see
again
it from
for the
Korea.
Love Yourself World Tour. During this tour, they collaborated with Steve Aoki to make the song Wasted on Me. Notable for being their first all-English feature, and it also served as a jumping-off point for BTS to gain a following of English speakers. Not that they were Map of the Soul, Persona. First things first, you can't mention
Dynamite's
Map of
all
the Soul Persona
English, I
without
think.
mentioning Boy With Love. It was simple math. What do you get when you cross the singer of one of the best charting songs of all time that went platinum 59 times in 13 different countries with, without a question, the most globally dominant pop group of all time? Well, you get this. Nothing less than an instant hit. Number 8 on Billboard Hot 100.
Yes! I
Platinum
cannot
21
wait to
music
get to
shows.
this
Number 1 on
video.
iTunes in 67 different countries. The most liked and the most viewed YouTube video in the first 24 hours. The fastest video to reach 100 million views. A current view count of over 1 billion views.
crazy.
7 boys, 1 girl, and 7 different hair colors. They were the talk of the town, invited to talk show after talk show after talk show. The second single on the album was Make It Right. Written by Ed Sheeran himself, including a version
Hey.
Wow. The album debuted at number 1 on Gaon and sold 3.2 million copies its first month, and that's only in Korea. It became the best-selling album
Do
in
you
South
hear that?
Korea
3.2
ever. It
million
swept
copies
every major
just
music
in
show,
Korea.
album of
I'm
the year in
listening,
each one of them.
absolutely.
They followed up this legendary EP with the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour, where they sold out both the Rose Bowl and the Wembley Stadium in only an hour. The only
The fact that they're selling
they
out
even
these
performed as a
English
solo act in Saudi Arabia, the first foreign act to do
Stadiums.
that.
Not
The
arenas,
last stop
but
of their tour was at
stadiums.
South Korea's
Like,
largest
that's
venue, the Seoul
crazy.
Olympic Stadium. They ended up grossing $200 million. During this time, they also created a visual novel-style game for mobile devices called BTS World, where the player can interact with the members. This also came with an original soundtrack with tracks unique to the game featuring Western artists. Zara Larsson, Charlie XCX, and Juice WRLD for the tracks A Brand New Day, Green Glow, and All Night, respectively. In December of 2019, the group swept the grand prizes for both the Melon and Mnet Music Award shows, the first artist to do that. Map of the Soul Persona was legendary, truly a marvel in modern music.
Wow.
So, how could BTS follow up the best-selling album in South Korean history, you may ask? Easy.
Oh my god.
Make an even better selling album. And that's what they did with Map of the Soul 7.
What?
The album was
Right.
released on February 21st of 2020, featuring
You
the
one
singles
up
Black
with
Swan
something even better. That's crazy.
and On. And sold over 4.1 million albums in just the first week, and the first Korean album to be certified as quadruple million on the Gaon Music Chart. It debuted at #1 on music charts all over the world, including the US, Korea, the UK, Japan, and much of Europe. It's not an
Oh my
exaggeration
God.
to say that this album left a permanent mark
basically
on the
everywhere.
world, launching BTS into
Basically.
legendary status and becoming the best-selling artist in South Korean history. BTS had scheduled a Map of the Soul tour for April of that year, which would have undoubtedly outsold their record-breaking tour only a year prior. But unfortunately, the COVID pandemic caused the entire tour to be postponed, including the show at the Rose Bowl, which I was supposed to attend. But that didn't stop me.
No, it makes me want to cry.
The Dear Class of 2020 graduation
COVID
event and released the
sucks.
Japanese version of the recent album
They
with
did.
an original Japanese single, Stay Gold.
They did.
And to top it
I
all
listened
off,
to that
this was
song
only
today,
June.
actually.
At this point, it was clear that BTS had already dominated their home turf, and they had topped the music charts all over the world. This time, their sight was set for the very top. Remember that scene in The Social Network where Mark and Sean talk about how they don't want $1 million, they want $1 billion. How they're not interested in catching 14 trout, but they'd rather catch an 800-pound marlin? Well, that's what they set their sights on. A marlin. The biggest music industry in the world, the United States. And at the top of that music industry, #1 on Billboard Hot 100.
And they did
This
it
small
with
group from a company
Dynamite.
that virtually no one had heard about 8 years ago
The
planned
only
to take on
song I've
Goliath
ever heard
himself and dominate the
all the
American
way
industry
through.
on their home turf. And all they had to do was speak English. August 21st. Enter Dynamite.
That's the only song I've ever heard all the way through.
That's all they had
Their
to
first
do.
and only English single so far.
crazy.
Simultaneously
I
performed
love
better
it.
than anyone had expected, but at the same time is exactly what we as an audience had come to expect from the legendary boy band themselves. And they did it. They reached #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, the Global 200, and the Global Excluding US chart. And they made sure that if you hadn't heard of them before, you definitely have now. And if that wasn't already the biggest flex, on October 2nd, they came out with Savage Love, BTS
Yes,
remix,
V,
and Jason
with that
Oh,
outfit.
wait. What? I didn't even realize they were
Getting
part of
#1
that
on the
song.
Billboard
I love
Hot
that
100
song.
Again, less than 2 months
Thank
after
God
getting
they beat
#1 on
WAP.
Dynamite.
Oh
And
my
Global 200
God.
would actually replace
I
themselves
love
at #1,
that
the first
song.
artist
WAP
to do
used
so
to
ever.
go, sweet.
So what makes BTS so special? How did they achieve all this? K-pop is a genre that spans for at least 30 years, and there have been hundreds of boy groups and hundreds of
30
girl groups.
years?
What did BTS do to rise above all of them and break through to markets never before seen? Historically, the boy band industry has been dominated by white English-speaking bands. And the fact that BTS has not only held their own, but blew any sign of competition out of the water on a global scale can be
Good.
attributed to nothing less
Out of
than
the
their
water.
talent,
I love
hard
it.
work, and a bit of a 1 in a million miracle. They did it through their own blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak. Around the world, we see that boy bands have pretty much fallen into obscurity, but BTS is thriving. And though I've stated this all before, it's worth saying again, in contrast to other bands who would sing about romantic relationships with girls and what some would call predictable bubblegum pop tunes, BTS is continuously pushing the envelope and changing their styles. According to an article by Vulture.com, they describe this style as much less a successor of the Backstreet Boys and more of the successors of Michael Jackson, whose choreography and charisma were unprecedented. While of course there's a lot of
yes!
bubbly, angelic
Yeah,
vocals,
okay, I
That
see
outfit
rap
was
has also
so
played a
hot.
very
I
important
see
part in
that.
creating their own style. In stark contrast to the typical boy band where every member sings, it's so refreshing when you're in the middle of a song and you hear RM's raw rapping skills, J-Hope's energy, or Suga's soul put into every single line. Interestingly enough, at the first
I
glance, it
wish
seems
I
that the
had
success
given
of
it a
BTS was
chance
miraculous, despite not
beforehand.
being part of the big three. But it can also
I
be argued
really
that their
appreciate
success
that.
was
I
because
think
of their
the
separation
army
from the
will
big three.
appreciate
Their
you
label,
saying
Big Hit
that.
Entertainment, whose founder emphasizes artistic freedom more than anything else, allowed them to make their own sound. And going back to BTS universe, it's not often that a K-pop group does something special with each of their songs and albums, utilizing strong storytelling that can go beyond simply the song itself, but rather interconnected with other songs and even other albums to create one large overarching story. And not only do they
Yes,
all have
Suga!
their own expertise in performance,
Looking
but
hot.
also each of them have had the experience of writing and producing their own music, and they're not
Mhm.
afraid to let their style
Right.
evolve over time.
Each member
BTS
has
during their
produced
debut
their
is
own
such a far
songs.
cry from Wings era
Okay.
BTS and current day BTS. They also chose to tackle tackle more adult issues instead of simply love and girls. While they definitely didn't have a shortage of those, they also cover other very important issues such as mental health, regret, following your dreams, hard work, self-love, and many, many, many others. Add that to the fact that as fans, we can feel the authenticity of the members themselves. They seem
look into
approachable.
more of their songs.
BTS seems like there's a place for every type of fan. And in this fast-paced world where things change at unthinkable speeds, BTS has stayed grounded and faithful to who they were and who they are. Those kids
That's
we saw
why
on
I
American
love
Hustle Life, along
BTS,
with their
because
dreams and passions,
they've
are the
stayed
same
true
men
to
who
who
stand
they
before us
are,
today.
and if you
And
ever
while some artists
don't
like to keep their
feel
personal
like
lives private,
you
BTS gives us a
may
look
feel
at their
confident
personal
in
lives
yourself,
through
you
their
can always go
vlogs,
back
which
to
allows
them
us to
and
become more connected
feel
to them
home
than ever
again,
before.
because they've
What
never
is truly
changed.
amazing is that, with the exception
You know
of
what I
just
mean?
one single, they're doing this all while singing in their native tongue, Korean. Their music holds so much power that it literally
That
breaks
is
through the
honestly the
barriers of
biggest
language. And no, they're not done yet. Today, November 20th, they're releasing their fifth
I
studio
think so
album,
too. Like,
B. Their
these
singles
guys,
on the album,
I love them
Dynamite
so much.
and Life Goes On. And chances are, life will go on for BTS. And chances are they'll continue to break even more records. They've shown that they're capable of dominating music charts across the world and even reaching across the Pacific Ocean and conquering the music industry in the United States. What's next for them? Mars? In any case, they've only started in 2013, and BTS is as strong as it's ever been. As far as we know, they will only continue to light it up like
Dynamite. You are corny, but I love it. You're corny, sir, but I live for it, sweetie. I live for your corniness. So, what I have to say is I agree with the last statement that he made about the fact that, like, no matter where you come from, you can always turn back to BTS and feel home again, because that statement remains very true to me, because life can get the better of us sometimes, and we may get lost in those thoughts and in those feelings of just, like, not knowing, like, who we are and what we stand for. But if there's one thing that always remains true to who they are, it's BTS. These guys have always been the exact same since 2013. These guys have never changed their persona of who they are and what they stand for. They've always stayed true to themselves. And if any of us ever feel like we are lost or confused or don't know what to do or what we stand for or anything like that, we can always turn to them to just remind us of that moment that reminds us of who we are and where and what we want out of our lives. And that, to me, is what ultimately really just makes me, I don't know, like, relate to them and really appreciative of them, because I know that I may come off as a strong individual to you guys, but sometimes I have my bad days too, and it's through watching videos about them that helps me remind myself sometimes of who I am, because they just are always authentically themselves, and it really makes a difference in my life. You know, I don't know. I hope that makes sense, but how did you feel about this video? Do you feel like you learned anything, or?
To be honest, my extent of the knowledge of BTS was based off of the song Dynamite, and I didn't know really much anything else about them. But watching the video, it definitely opened my eyes to
how much impact they have, maybe?
For real, yeah, definitely. The fact that they started from pretty much nothing to
where they are today.
Yeah, definitely. It's inspiring, definitely.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's really insane, honestly. It's awe-inspiring, and it's just
like they have captured not just a young audience, but even an older audience. Like there's people like in their 40s and 50s that are like relating to this group.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like they're inspiring more than just a younger audience, and
Yeah.
I really respect that. Like
I feel like BTS is the modern day Michael Jackson, like because Michael Jackson was
absolutely.
inspiring the entire world with his music,
Mhm.
and not only that, but he was promoting a message. He was promoting world change. His music had a message that was trying to not only inspire but change the world and help people understand that no matter your walk of life, like you are loved and you can be who you want to be, and we are oppressed by the system and we can make a change and we can rise above the things that make us feel like we can't be. Okay, guys, so with that being said, without us rambling on much longer, I just want to finish this off by saying that I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, I hope you enjoyed our reaction, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Perfect.